Goodness comes and evil goes.
Kimunga Ukombozi, Kimunga Ukombozi, Kimunga Ukombozi, divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth. Karibu, welcome. My name is Kwende, and today we're going to get into another important subject, and that is the stages of progressive transformation to Liberator. And there are various psychosocial, psychocultural models that are useful in this. So that's what we're going to highlight during the course of this particular video message. And they're not exclusive. There are a number of them. We're just going to highlight two. Probably the most well-known and popular certainly in African-centered circles is what's called the William Cross model, or the quote-unquote Negro to Black conversion model. And that has a number of stages where the development of the self-knowing that one has of the African self grows to its fullest fruition in terms of the psychosocial development stages. So it starts at the stage of unknowing, which is the pre-encounter stage. Then you have the encounter stage. Then you have the immersion stage. Then you have the internalization stage. And then finally, there's the internalization commitment stage. And all of those are important stages to know about the African psyche and the African developmental stages, the African transformational stages in the knowingness of self. Now, we're not going to get into the detail of that, and it's highly recommended that if you can engage in further study to get that detail, and certainly participate in independent institutions of African-centered learning wherever you can in your locale. The other model that I'd like to highlight is perhaps not so well known, and this speaks more directly to the notion of what it means to be a liberator for African people in the state that we currently find ourselves in throughout the world. And that's a model that was established by Marcia Sutherland. So it's referred to as the Sutherland model. And this is an important stage-by-stage analysis of the transformational process that psychocultural development takes place in order for Africans to operate at optimal flourishing self as a liberator working in the interests of African people. And again, we're not going to get into the detail of it, but just to highlight the stages so that further research can be done on your part as a viewer. And again, engage in learning via independent African-centered institutions wherever you can get access to them. Marcia Sutherland used then these stages of analysis, which she labeled using the term struggle or struggler. So we're going to take that out, and I'm going to inject in the place of those terms the word liberator. So not struggler as she would call it, but liberator as it would relate to the process then of liberation, which indeed the model is centered on as preferred terminology. So the first stage then is the non-liberator, the denial of active process or the denial of self in order to effect taking the mantle of that role and developing African souls to reach their optimal level. So you start there then with the non-liberator. The next developmental stage is the reactive pseudo-liberator. Not quite there. And then the next stage is the opportunistic individual. The next stage is the partially committed liberator. And then finally you get what's called the authentic liberator. So there are 5 stages, starting with denial of self or inactivity to become optimally functioning as an authentic liberator. And that's really where African souls ought to be, as authentic liberators. And these models, though we're not getting into the detail of them, highlight just how important it is to assess life and see the world, have our own expertise about ourselves and our particular and unique set of circumstances as it pertains to African people. We're not the same as others. Our experience is not the same as others. So our journey and the tools that we need for elevation and ascension are different. These are just 2 examples that I'm sharing to highlight that there are particular stages of growth, development, transformation that takes place in order to move the self along and become fully flourishing, become functional in the mission for African souls to become free. So with that, food for thought, and surely it is food for thought. Kimunga ukumbozi, kimunga ukumbozi, kimunga ukumbozi. Divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth.
The sun who has returned home, for Africans back on time. The sun who has returned home, for Africans back on time. Freedom walks, freedom talks, freedom comes in